When Season 2 of Ninjala dropped, every player in Ninjala for a week became legendary skateboarders on the levels of Tony Hawk, Rob Dyrdek, and even Bob Burnquist. For those of us who stuck with the weapon after the fact, though, it's become one of the most fun and beloved weapons so far in the game of Ninjala. To this day, it still stands as my favorite weapon class in the game, so let's dive right in and discuss my next weapon guide, the Skateboards. Hello ladies and gentlemen and all the core gamers out there, CAJ Man 777 here today once again as one of your Ninjala ambassadors to bring you yet another Ninjala weapon guide that will surely teach you something new about a weapon class you may have never tried in Ninjala. This is installment number 6 of my weapon guide series, and today we're going to be talking about the weapon that gives you all the style points as you Ippon opponents left and right, the Skateboards. So, of course, if you are enjoying these guys and you'd like to see more of them, do me a huge favor and hit that like button, as well as also hitting that subscribe button as we try to reach 5,000 subscribers on the channel in 2021. Now, with the intro jargon out of the way, let's talk skateboards. Of course, as you all know, this is going to be an in-depth discussion regarding everything these skateboards have to offer. From the weapon kits themselves to the combos, I will be showing off everything, as well as some special things that make the skateboards more unique compared to other weapons in Ninjala. Much like my previous guides, there is of course going to be some information that I would have already gone over in a previous guide, so I'll try and get through repeat information as fast as possible. But that just about covers, what you guys need to know as we go into this guide. So, you know what? Let's talk some skateboards. Of course, as you already know, the skateboards are the movement speed machines of Ninjala. They're unpredictable, quick, have some incredible combo strings, and when played right, you'd never, and I mean never, be able to catch them unless, of course, you get behind them or hit them by surprise. Due to the skateboard's extreme versatility in all aspects, it's what makes the weapon class so great to begin with. So let's start by going over, of course, the skateboards themselves. As you can see right here, once again, I am on the weapon select screen, and for starters, we are going to be going over the first board of the skateboard kit, the Matsuri board, and then we'll be moving on to the Camu plate. Once again, if you guys don't know how to see the details on these, on the boards or on any weapon, you can just highlight over the weapon you want to check. Don't have to hit the A button. I just equipped the skateboard for something that I'm going to be doing later. But all you have to do is highlight over the weapon you want and hitting the plus button, which of course will bring up the weapon's details. Now, the first thing I always like to look at is the weapon parameters when you bring up this weapon detail page, which determines the overall health and movement speed of the weapon. The skateboards, as we can see, have the exact same amount of health compared to the surfboard, stopping at 285. And just to kind of prove this, here's the skateboard health. Here is the surfboard health right here, also 285. However, where the skateboards vary from its sister class of the surfboards is that they're slightly better in the movement speed department, having a movement speed cap of 104. Honestly, it's a solid trade-off if you ask me, because while I do think the skateboards are much better in the movement department compared to the surfboards, I still think the surfboards have much better offensive capabilities. But of course, this video is about the skateboards, and let me tell you, they definitely can keep pace, if not surpass, the combat potential of its sister class. So, let's start by going over the Matsuri board and its gum kit. Starting off, of course, we have a gum shot that we've talked quite a bit about in the past guides, the gum net. A highly versatile gum shot, the gum net is a fast-moving, fixed-distance projectile that explodes outwards after hitting a target or reaching its maximum range. It covers quite a bit of an area during its burst, making it not only a great defensive option to protect yourself and cancel other gum shots, but it's a great offensive option as well when you want to bind your opponents quickly. As a fun tip for those who might not know it, gum net has a little bit of a hidden skill when you initially launch the gum net. What you want to do with the gum net is when you shoot it at an opponent, try to focus your aim of the net directly to hit a player dead on. The gum net actually does in fact do more gum damage to your opponent the closer they are to the center of it when it goes off. On top of that, the gum net, of course, is an active gum shoot, meaning it will remain on the field for a short amount of time, meaning its hitbox will remain active on the field for a short amount of time. While out on the field, the gum net of course, if anybody decides to touch it or is already caught by the net, opponents who try and go through it, and opponents that are already in it, will start taking ticks of gum damage. Gum net, of course, is definitely one of those gum shots you are going to see rather often, as it's used on a ton of weapons in the game. It is, like I said, it is already a very versatile gum shot, so it makes sense as to why it's on so many weapons in the game. But it's important to keep, of course, these bits and pieces of information in mind when you are trying to either learn gum net or deal with gum net as well. But that will just about cover it for the gum net. Kind of just a little bit of a quick refresher. So how about we talk about something we haven't actually talked about at all yet in any of my guides, the gum ninjutsu that is only on currently one weapon in the game, the Shinobi Beast. The Shinobi Beast is honestly kind of a toss-up in my opinion. I know some people love the Shinobi Beast, and I know others just absolutely despise the damn thing. As it stands right now though, I think Shinobi Beast is a relatively solid ninjutsu, considered to be, of course, as well, on top of that, the second transformation ninjutsu in Ninjala, with the first transformation ninjutsu, of course, being the Punishing Blade. When activated, your ninja turns into a feral beast that is able to chase down opponents with its steel-shredding claws and your third eye, which allows you to detect incoming threats. I'm kidding. The third eye does absolutely nothing for you, but look at its face! You're gonna see that in your nightmares tonight, and I guarantee it. I mean, well, you'll probably end up laughing it off later because you realize that then the Shinobi Beast can actually perform player emotes. Yeah, no, I think it's great. Honestly, though, the Shinobi Beast is pretty nice, and as I already said, Shinobi Beast is a transformation ninjutsu, meaning you still have complete control over your character while this ninjutsu is activated. This means you still have access to your to multiple things in your kit, your gum shot, your gum boost, your dash, as well as a couple other hidden things like the increased jump height that you normally get on a transformation jutsu like the one you get from Punishing Blade. So there's a lot of nice little things that you actually get for Shinobi Beast. But believe me, you're gonna need every aspect and every advantage that you can with Shinobi Beast, because unlike Punishing Blade, Shinobi Beast needs you to get up close and personal to your opponents. Once you, of course, you feel like you're in range, by pressing the attack button, you'll lunge forward with a super armored strike, easily passing through any attack, resisting transformation attacks such as the ones found on the trick ball, and hitting your opponent. Unfortunately, though, the Shinobi Beast is not an instant Ipponing ninjutsu and will require 2 hits on opponents who are close to full health, unless you just happen to be a trick ball player who got hit once, then God help you. God help your little health, and run. Each strike specifically on the Shinobi Beast, though, does 200 damage to an opponent. So, as I kind of already stated, this ninjutsu often is better off to third-party opponents rather than kind of relying on it in a 1v1 scenario, so you really don't want to use it in too much of a direct engagement. Despite this, though, the Shinobi Beast strikes are so powerful that they can indeed one-shot small drones, as well as 2-hitting large drones, making it a great tool to use to get back into the game if you need some much-needed points. However, there's more. You see, activating Shinobi Beast also has another effect. It will fully restore your health, as well as raising your maximum health cap to 400 while Shinobi Beast is active. Combine this with the super armor that you already get on the Shinobi Beast attacks, and you're not going to crash and burn like some people might think. But, of course, much like the Punishing Blade, it does share a similar weakness in getting hit. Meaning, if you get hit while you're in a Shinobi Beast form or in a Punishing Blade form, you cannot burst out of it. Meaning you're going to be stuck in that stun lock to either you get KO'd, Ippon, or miraculously your opponent screws up and decides to break attack in ninjutsu, which I've seen. Pretty crazy. Stop doing it. Another thing to mention, though, about the Shinobi Beast is that sometimes its hitboxes are just plain weird. Most of the time, it feels like the hitbox in front of a Shinobi Beast is just the length of your extended arm compared to the literal mile of a hitbox that trails behind the Shinobi Beast. Honestly, though, this is probably due to the fact that the attack is a lunge, so it's constantly moving the hitbox forward, making the front-facing hitbox of the Shinobi Beast feel smaller than it actually is. But, I don't know. I didn't design the game. Who am I? I'm just a funny internet man who just so happens to have an animation degree trying to make sense of this weird hitbox. still, I think Shinobi Beast is a solid ninjutsu, and of course with Gum Net by your side, you've got some nice synergy with the Beast, so make sure to practice some gum netting routes with the Shinobi Beast as well to get in the face of your opponents. But with that out of the way, that will cover the Matsuri Boards Gum Kit, so now we can move on to talking about the special abilities of the skateboards. I'm just gonna say it. This special is the best special in the game. Don't believe me? Well then, Gromit, you must have bailed before you could nail that sweet ride. Who wrote this? Anyways, old 90s skater lingo aside, the Sweet Ride is an incredible special for the skateboards. Sweet Ride, as the name implies, allows the user to jump onto their board and control it at free will. You're able to use both your jumps while you're on the board as well as dash for some more distance, but you are not able to gum boost off the board or you will just jump right off of it. While one is on the board, though, you are literally nigh uncatchable by any normal attack unless you happen to just get clipped by a rogue attack or even a targeted gum shot. That's not really a big deal, though, because even if you get clipped, you're saving your S energy by just riding the board in the first place. Yeah, that's right. You don't have to use any S energy to ride the board with Sweet Ride, which is absolutely huge. It saves you a lot of time of movement around the map, and when you're on the board, you're extremely fast anyway, and as I already said, it's going to be very hard for anybody to catch you, so you have full freedom of movement and potentially full S energy while on the board. But of course, as I already kind of stated, by using Sweet Ride, you can get to any place on the map in an instant, which is just a great tool overall. But if you're trying the boards out for the first time, you may have noticed that when you jump during Sweet Ride, there's a small sparkle effect that surrounds your character. Now, what is this sparkle effect? Well, that sparkle effect, when it's showing, is slowly increasing the damage of your next attack. This temporary damage boost is also amplified by the skateboard's abilities as well, which we will talk about in just a moment here. It's an extremely powerful ability with being able to perform tricks on Sweet Ride, and at max charge, it's able to one-shot any single drone, including large drones. But the abilities, as I said, are really what makes Sweet Ride so good, so let's get into them. The first ability is called One More Chance, and what this ability does is it temporarily increases the damage you can deal to your opponents after defeating an enemy. The catch to this ability, though, is that it only affects the damage bonus of Sweet Ride tricks. This is more than likely an incentive to save the Sweet Ride ability for your benefit in the long run, but more often than not, you'll be using Sweet Ride on a skateboard constantly anytime it is off cooldown. The damage increase from One More Chance is also pretty significant, as you can probably see on the screen now, so with it, you'll often be able to KO or Ippon players that have pretty dang low health. Not to mention that when you're performing tricks with Sweet Ride, the trick damage stacks to further amplify the damage, as I already mentioned. Now, yes, while it does amplify the damage, something to bring up is that the trick damage itself has the effect of diminishing returns, which simply means for each trick you perform in the game, after a certain point, the game is adding less and less bonus damage per hit. So with a small weapon, it is absolutely impossible to one-shot a player holding a weapon with 300 or more health if they have full health. But that's where the second ability comes in, Double Up. Double Up is just plain broken when combined with your special. It significantly amplifies the trick damage more than usual, allowing for some absolutely insane damage output. It's probably the reason why this ability is exclusive to the big weapon, because the damage output you get is in fact enough to outright one-shot every single weapon in the game, with hammers being the only exception, and because they're always immune to the one-shot meme because, you know, they tanky. But the hammers, anyway, if you hit them with a fully charged Double Up max trick wide attack, they only have enough health to literally live one more hit. So it's because of the power, like I already said, that Double Up is that big weapon exclusive ability. And it's so powerful, being able to literally one or two shot every weapon in the game at max trick. However, despite this being the big weapon ability, it's still kind of broken. You see, normally, without the big weapon ability Double Up, normally skateboards have to do 10 to 12 tricks to obtain the maximum possible damage off any attack, with the most damage, of course, coming from a skateboard's wide attack. As a skateboard player, you'll know when you have the maximum amount of tricks stored up, because a ton of sparkles will appear around you, along with playing a different sound effect. To make this even crazier, though, when players craft a big skateboard and activate the effect of Double Up, you only need 6 tricks for more damage output. Yeah, no, you're probably thinking it. And I kind of agree with you. This ability can be just downright broken in the right scenarios, but you also have to keep in mind that you're only getting this extra damage during Sweet Ride, which, as I said, you can be knocked out of from multiple sources like burst fields, gum shots, AoE attacks, etc. Now, I will say, though, with the abilities specifically on the skateboard, I do think the skateboards are a little bit too strong, but I don't think it's due to the weapon itself. It's just mainly that double up ability, which I think will be fine-tuned in the future. Honestly, though, the abilities on the skateboard are some of the best abilities in the game, and to this day, there's still so many people who you'll see playing standard Matsuri board or Camu plate. But, of course, with that being said, that covers it for the weapons and abilities of the skateboards. Both of them as well, because Camu plate and Matsuri board, as you guys know, if they are the same like weapon type, they will always have the same abilities and special. For now, at least. So, with that being kind of covered and out of the way, we can take a look at the other kit, the Camu plate. Much like all the other guides, of course, I've done in the past, there's actually, once again, no need for me to go over the specials and abilities, so we're just going to focus on the gum kit of the Camu plate, which, of course, we have a gum shot that everybody is pretty familiar with, Gum Ghost. I previously talked about Gum Ghost in my surfboard weapon guide, and here's what I said about it. Gum Ghost is the slowest moving, but one of the best homing gum shoots in the game, with the ability to go through walls. On contact with an opponent, it drains various amounts of S energy, depending on if you were hit with a tiny, small, or big Gum Ghost. This S energy drain, of course, varied anywhere from 2 to 6 bars, but in my surfboard guide, I also mentioned that Gum Ghost doesn't flinch opponents, and it doesn't do any damage. This was true for a while, until the start of Season 4 for Ninjala, and dear God, they buffed Casper the Ghost, and they buffed Casper hard. Not only does the Gum Ghost now stagger opponents on contact, but it also now does gum damage. This is added, by the way, on top of still being able to drain S energy from your opponents and go through walls. Due to this, the Gum Ghost is now probably one of the most incredibly powerful gum shots in the game for keeping your opponents at bay and preventing them from parrying them. The Gum Ghost now is also incredibly useful for combo setups, which were only possible on the Matsuri board. And you're almost guaranteed with a Gum Ghost now to land some of these combos because of that S energy drain on the Gum Ghost. It is super good now, and I'm so happy Gum Ghost got the buffs it needed. And they also kind of buffed Potent Poison, but we're not going to be talking about that until I have to talk about Potent Poison again, whichever one it is added to another weapon in the future. But I don't know when that'll be. For now, we can move on, of course, to the Gum Ninjutsu. The Camu Plate's Gum Ninjutsu is another ninjutsu that we haven't talked about yet, and it is, of course, the Dragon Lord. The Dragon Lord is a projectile ninjutsu that, much like the Gum Ghost, can go through walls while homing in on your opponents before exploding. The Dragon Lord has a slight timer on it, though, and after a certain distance or a certain period of time passes, the Dragon Lord will explode. Because of this, smart players can avoid the explosion and the dragon itself at the end of said timer. Despite this, though, the Dragon Lord is a relatively fast-charging ninjutsu, and that's mainly because the Dragon Lord isn't the greatest when it comes to damage output in AoE. It's more of a single-target damage with dealing about 230 when it goes off and hitting an opponent. You're often actually going to get 3 Dragon Lords in a single match of Ninjala, which should, in theory, net you about 3 Ippons. The Dragon Lord's explosion, though, as I mentioned, is indeed a small AoE, which is able to hit multiple players in the vicinity for the same damage, but you're more than likely only going to be using Dragon Lord on one player over a group of them, and getting just like 1 Ippon out of like maybe 2 or 3. However, because the Dragon Lord does 230 damage, it also has the ability to one-shot small drones and deal massive damage to large drones as well. It's honestly a rather fun ninjutsu because you often see them used in combo routes that are just going to absolutely devastate your opponent. And I'm going to be talking about one of those combo routes just a bit later. But for now, that's really all I have to say about both of the kits of the Matsuri board and the Camu plate. So now we can move on to our combo section of the video, where I will be starting, of course, with the attacks. Here we are once again on the training range, and we are now ready to move into some combos and attacks of the skateboards. For this section of the video, I'm mainly going to be using the Matsuri board for these combos, because the Matsuri board has a combo specifically as a small weapon that the Camu plate can't pull off. When it comes to this combo, I will be bringing it up before I end up pulling off that combo, but I am pleased to announce that for the rest of the combos in this section, both weapons will work for any of the combos you see. Before we get into the combos though, we have to talk about the attacks, and when we start talking about the attacks here in just a moment, it's actually a very interesting thing to bring up, but unlike my last few guides, the skateboards once again have unique animations for each attack in their combo strings, meaning I will be having to go over multiple of their basic attacks. Of course, as we all know, I'll be starting with the normals and moving from the backs to the wide and possibly the break attack as well. Starting off, we have Normal 1, which is a sideways board sweep that strikes opponents from the right side before ending on the left side. Following that, of course, we have our Normal 2 attack, which rotates the end of our Normal 1 sweep into an uppercut with the skateboard. Normal 3 is then an exact opposite flip of Normal 1 with a reverse striking sweep going from left to right, but it strikes a little bit higher and from the left side. And of course, for our normal finisher, we have a downwards board, kind of like slam, but it's not like the surfboard slam, which knocks opponents back without a follow-up. But bear in mind that the final normal finisher will actually push you as your player toward the opponent despite the knockback on your opponent. Onto our back attacks now, which I will also be denoting in my combo guide as left-right attacks. They honestly feel like they have a bit more of a skateboard vibe to them, borrowing some actual skateboarding moves in the performance of some of these back attacks. Back 1, of course, is nothing special. It is just a simple sweep cut with the wheels of the board. It's almost kind of like a sideways skateboarding wheel slide. Of course, the follow-up on back 2 is a 720 tail grab, with the first flip actually being the hit that does damage to your opponent. The second flip is just an end time for the animation or end lag off the skateboard's move. Back 3, of course, takes some more inspiration from another skater move into account, this time with an early tail grab into a 360. And of course, finally, for the back finisher, we have a similar movement to a varial kickflip into an indie, with of course some added Ninjala flair. As for the wide attacks now, honestly, I really like the wide attacks on the skateboards. I almost said surfboards again, because the wide attacks on the skateboards, all of the wide attacks on the skateboards, 100% take inspiration out of actual skateboarding moves for their attacks. So, of course, there are multiple wides. We have our standard wide, and we have our 3 other wide attacks, aka the wide finisher. So, for starters, we have our standard wide attack, which is going to be a backside 360 grab. Following that, we have our wide 1 attack, which is a move we're going to be using quite a lot later for combos, and it's just a simple varial kickflip. Remember, this move is called wide 1 because it requires 1 normal or 1 other attack to be performed and hit your opponent before you can use this wide. As for wide attack number 2, I honestly couldn't find a singular skateboard trick to compare this to because it's got way too much swag. But it seems to be a combination of a kickflip McTwist, 540 board varial, and of course, a roast beef big spin. And yes, before you ask, no, I didn't make those up. Those are actual skateboarding trick names. I do my research for these videos. And of course, as for the wide attack finisher, aka the wide 3, we have a combination of 2 skateboarding moves once again, which is a Madonna into a Benihana, which, can I just say, looks so good. This is probably one of the flashiest moves on the skateboard, and I love it. I would also like to point out that with the wide finisher, you have a very similar effect to your normal finisher on the skateboards, meaning your player is actually going to be pushed forward towards your knocked back opponent, allowing you to continue combos if need be. So please do keep this in mind when you are performing some skateboard combos. But other than that, as you can probably tell, the attacks on the skateboards, they got a ton of style. But what about the combos? Do they have just as much style as the attacks themselves? Well, yeah, they really do. So, let's get into them. I figured I'd go back to WNA to show you guys the combos because it's honestly going to be a lot easier for you all to see the combos here in WNA compared to Fort Riverdale, which can be kind of tricky to see with the camera sometimes, so that's why I decided to choose WNA. But as per usual, the first combo I'm going to show here in this section is just so players can understand the basic flow of the skateboards before we start doing anything incredibly flashy and crazy. Now, with the skateboards, the main attack strings without bonus trick damage aren't actually strong enough to get KOs quickly, so you're going to actually have to add a bit of style into your skateboard strings to effectively get KOs. So to start off, I'm going to be showing you this first combo, and the combo is going to be as follows. You're going to start this combo with a normal ZR strike. You can alternatively also use a left-right attack or a back attack. But for now, it's a lot easier if you guys want to practice just to follow the prompt on screen. So, the first move is going to be a normal ZR. Following that normal ZR, you are going to then move into a back attack or a left-right attack. Immediately following that back attack, you are going to do a downward ZR. Following your wide attack, you are then going to have to use 2 normal ZR attacks. Once again, after that, you are going to be moving into a back attack. And then, of course, if your opponent just happens to be a hammer, you need to add 1 more down for the finisher. As you can probably already tell, as I already said, this is much more than you normally see for a standard combo string. Not only are we utilizing all the base attacks the skateboards have in this string, but you have to remember to also constantly change up the string if you hit your opponent with a damage boosted trick from Sweet Ride when starting this combo as well. This is honestly what makes the skateboard so unique though, as you have the ability to play off its base combos really in any way you choose. They are absolutely incredible, and these combos can land you in some amazing situations if played right. With or without the increased trick damage, the skateboards are just plain fun to use. Now, you might have also noticed that I performed a second version of the combo there. All I did is, instead of relying on that extra downward to like KO a hammer, I just removed one of those dual ZRs that are in the middle of the combo, and that will work to KO pretty much any weapon that I already said isn't a hammer. But you need to pull that full combo string off if your opponent just happens to be a hammer. So for this combo, this is the combo I was talking about at the beginning of this combo section, where I said this combo is going to work much better on the Matsuri board as a small weapon, and it will work 100% of the time on the Matsuri board as a small weapon over the Camu plate. This combo unfortunately does not work with the Camu plate unless you have a big weapon. The reason this combo works specifically though on Matsuri board for a small weapon is because it's actually utilizing a gum net right in the beginning of this combo to stagger an opponent, allowing you to keep them in the net for a bind. This combo, of course, will instantly bind with a big gum shot for both the Matsuri board and the Camu plate, as I already mentioned, but the Camu plate, in order to bind in this state, does need an additional Shinobi card, which I will be talking about in the next section. However, as I already said, this combo is only able to achieve an Ippon as a small weapon with the Matsuri board. You might also notice this combo is going to have 2 names, and one of those names just happens to be the J-Man Special. Why is it called the J-Man Special? Well, when Season 2 of Ninjala launched, I always like to test the new weapons out. And, well, this is the combo I found with the skateboards literally day one. And it is fantastic. So, I'm sure you guys want to know what the combo is, and I'm going to get that combo to you right here in a second, but I'm going to actually put 2 combo routes on the screen for you. I'm going to be using, for this specific move, I'm going to be using the small weapon combo route. However, there is a big weapon combo route that I already said will work with the big weapons on the Matsuri board and the Camu plate, and I will be denoting that with the word big, and that will be directly below the small weapon combo route. So, now that I cleared that up, now I can give you guys the combo. So, as a small weapon, to start off this combo, you are going to need to do a standard ZR strike. Following your standard ZR strike, you are then going to move into your wide attack, once again, a downward ZR. Now, after that, you are going to then jump cancel into your gum shot. For this specifically on small weapon, this is going to work massively when you have gum net. And once they get hit with the gum net here for this combo, you are then going to use a normal ZR strike. Then, of course, you are going to follow that up with a left-right ZR. And now here is specifically where the combo route differs between a small weapon and a big weapon compared to whether it works on the Matsuri board or the Camu plate. The big difference is here that if you have a small weapon, you are going to need 2 ZRs following the left-right strike, mainly due to the hammer. And then, of course, you are going to finish with a downward ZR. The big weapon variation of these last 2 moves only requires 1 ZR over 2 because you're already doing enough damage to the hammers as a big weapon to then just finish them with a downward ZR. Notice, of course, that for this combo's small weapon route, once again, you'll need an extra ZR right before the finisher to make sure you can deal with those hammer users. You have to be careful with this combo on hammers, though, because after that extra ZR that you need for the hammers on the small weapon route, it will break your opponent's bind, and you may have to, of course, break a burst. Luckily, though, while using the big weapon route for this same combo with the Camu plate, which needs a certain Shinobi card that I will be talking about very shortly in the next section, you won't necessarily need to break a burst, as your opponents will have just lost 6 units of S energy from a Gum Ghost. However, once again, much like my last base skateboard combo, there are many ways to perform this combo in a string, so feel free to experiment with the routes. And, of course, as much as I'd love to delve deeper and hit you all with some of more of these excellent board combos on various weapons, the boards are just so good at what they do. There's so many ways to get a bind out of big weapon combos with the skateboard. So due to this, we're just going to move on to our third and final combo, which will utilize your ninjutsu. Now, honestly, I'm just going to cut straight to the point with this combo because, like, this combo is absolutely fantastic. So this combo is going to start up with the same 4 moves that we have already talked about in the, obviously here in my last combo. So you're going to start once again with a normal ZR. Following that normal ZR, you are then going to go into a wide ZR to pop your opponent into the air. You're going to then jump cancel and gum shoot your opponent here. And now this is where the combo route differs. If you have a small weapon here, a small weapon specifically with gum nets, hit the X button here to activate your ninjutsu. Your opponent technically should already be bound, but this combo will work constantly with a big weapon, whether you have net or ghost, as I already mentioned. So here's where you hit the X button to activate your ninjutsu. And then, of course, if you are a Shinobi beast, you do have to hit ZR to strike your opponent. As you can probably tell, this combo, it's fast, it's deadly, and your opponent can't do anything but watch as they viciously get struck down by a Shinobi Beast or Dragon Lord. The only weapon that will ever survive this route at full health are the Noise Hammers, who live with literally 5 HP. For this combo to work 100% though, as I mentioned with the Camu plate, you do need to run a certain Shinobi card as well as having the big weapon for it to get the Ippon as well. Honestly though, the card that's used, you probably already know what it is by what I've been saying, but I will be talking about that very shortly in the next section. But for now, that just about does it for our combo section of the video. And honestly, the skateboards can really just kind of do whatever they want when they're being used in Ninjala. From dealing extra damage to earning KOs faster, to having a massive variety of options, they are definitely one of the more popular weapon choices used in the game currently, and it's easy to see why after seeing some of their combo routes, I'm sure. But we're not done, because we need to make the skateboards even better by using Shinobi cards. It would also probably help if I talked about the skateboard's weaknesses, because there's a couple glaring ones. The skateboards honestly have a wide variety of options when it comes to setting up Shinobi cards to make them more effective. So what exactly do you want to run when playing as a skateboard? Well, first and foremost, if you plan on using the Camu plate for some of the combos I mentioned in the last section of the video, you must run the Stealing Hyena Shinobi card with the gum damage up assist code, and that assist code has to at least be at level 5, 6, or 7. I actually forget the number off the top of my head, unfortunately. What this card does is it adds additional gum damage to your gum ghost to opponents with lower health, making it so you won't necessarily need to have to, two-shot them with 2 gum ghosts to bind them. Stealing Hyena, though, with the gum damage up assist code is also good for shortening combo routes with the gum net, making insta-binds, well, gum net and actually a lot of other gum shots, making insta-binds possible at low health, provided you hit your opponent directly with either the center of the net or directly with a gum shot. Honestly, you can't go wrong with the Stealing Hyena Shinobi card, as it's got some really nice assist codes on top of the additional gum damage, but a lot of people think it's slightly overpowered. Is it slightly overpowered? I don't necessarily think so, but the card itself, on the other hand, is honestly pretty cheap to run, only needing a base cost of 7 to use it. So honestly, if we're ever going to see a nerf to Stealing Hyena, I think it should be in the base cost of the card itself, rather than its assist codes. Of course, some other options for cards you can run with the skateboards, which I've seen success in recently, is the Energy Hoarder Shinobi card with any of the assist codes. However, I want to draw a special focus to the first assist code on Energy Hoarder, which restores your health when you pick up S Energy Orbs. This is extremely useful in the current season of Ninjala Season 4 because they nerfed the speed at which your life naturally recovers. They didn't nerf the recovery speed of how much health you get back itself, but they nerfed how long it takes to start naturally recovering health back. As a skateboard though, with Sweet Ride, having this Shinobi card with the little health restored assist code, you can use Sweet Ride to grab some S Energy Orbs to not only gain 2 energy back, but of course some health as well. I've also seen a lot of really good success with the second assist code, which is a massive increase into movement speed. After picking up an S Energy Orb, a lot of people have started to start running that now, so I'm excited to see where Energy Hoarder goes in the future. I think it's a very slept on card right now, and a very good card at that. And it works very well on the skateboard. But, of course, for my final recommendation, my card for third card slot potentially is Giant Killer. Now, while yes, with Giant Killer, you're only going to be able to get 1 Ippon per life on big weapons because they fixed how the card works and you no longer get an Ippon per big weapon. But at the same time, they also kind of broke how the card works now, because if you get a Ippon on a player with a big weapon through like a bind or ninjutsu route and not like KO them, which would activate Giant Killer to change it into an Ippon, the Ippon from that won't proc. Like the Ipponing a big weapon overrides the Ippon on KOing Giant Killer, so I do hope they fix that. But honestly, Giant Killer, it won't matter if it's broken or not in the long run, as you have the ability as a skateboard to literally one-shot basically every player in the game with max trick potential, so, there's free Ippons in it for you if you can pull that one off. But that covers it for Shinobi cards, so what about the weaknesses of the skateboard? Well, as I said, the skateboards do have a few glaring weaknesses. For starters, the skateboards have a lot of end lag at the end of their attacks, whether it is at the end of an individual attack or a blocked attack. this can be easily punished with a well-placed block or, you know, a well-placed third party from an opponent. While you're kind of in this end lag recoil or recoil state from a block, you're not going to be able to do anything unless you think fast, and your opponents are honestly able to capitalize on that and potentially Ippon you if you aren't careful. So the skateboard end lag, something to definitely keep in mind. Another big weakness of the skateboards, of course, is unlike overpowering wave on the surfboards, its sister class. Once again, you are not immune to attacks while using Sweet Ride. Getting hit during Sweet Ride will begin the ability's cooldown before you can use it again, so it's best to try and avoid massive fights. You don't want to lose that damage bonus you've built up after doing tricks and then having it be wasted in a slight energy field. Finally, of course, I'd like to also mention that skateboards, once again, their standard attack strings, are weaker than most, so it's important to utilize your gum shots to get some binds on both boards to play them effectively. If you end up taking long to get a KO using basic skateboard attacks, you're risking not only losing the KO or getting KO'd or Ipponed yourself. But that'll just about cover it. So now, you know everything you need to know if you want to get started playing the skateboard class in Ninjala. Remember that this information, of course, can always change based on patches that the game releases over time, so make sure to check up on any patch notes the devs send out as well. Skateboards, though, to this day are still one of the most fun and well thought out classes in Ninjala, and I can't wait to see who picks them up as the game goes on. Of course, I hope you all enjoyed this guide for the skateboards in Ninjala. Let me know if you think I missed anything in the comments below, and let me know if you've discovered any sick skateboard combo routes yourselves. I'd love to see those combo routes in the comments section below. Of course, though, if you enjoyed the video, as always, feel free to hit that like button, as well as doing me a favor and hitting that subscribe button for more content like this on the channel. As some of you probably already know, we're trying to reach 5,000 subscribers by the end of 21, and I know it's a big jump from where we started in this year, but it would mean absolutely so much to me if we could do it. I've wanted to, you know, make content creation a big part of my life for a very long time, and I enjoy doing it. I really enjoy giving back to the community and stuff, so it would mean so much to me if we really could hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of this year. But other than that, before I go, of course, I do have to give a quick shout out to my donors over there on Patreon, MickeyPhorGens, Thomas, and Styleno for their continued support to the channel. And as always, until then, this is CAJman777 signing off. Stay safe, everybody.